Hello, I'm Bob Pitman. I was for 29 years the director of Mill Race Center, and I'm pleased to make this recording about the humor of presidents, something I've always enjoyed. Some of our best presidents were known for their sense of humor. The president considered by most historians to be the best president for refusing to accept the dissolution of the Union was Abraham Lincoln, and he was probably one of our most humorous presidents. This despite the fact that he battled lifelong depression, often bordering on suicide. He lost 2 children while he was alive, including one to typhoid fever while he was in the White House, and he had a wife with serious mental health issues. Lincoln's life was in danger when he traveled from Springfield to Washington through Baltimore, which was full of Southern sympathizers. Some said he was alleged to have disguised himself in women's clothing, an unlikely story when you think that Lincoln was 6'4". When he arrived at the White House, President Buchanan, whose states' rights view was that Southern states had a right to secede, Buchanan told him, "If you are half as happy to come to this office as I am to leave it, you are a happy man indeed." Lincoln tried his best to keep others in good humor, though he was not always appreciated. He was known for telling his stories, and sometimes people in attendance would just kind of roll their eyes when he would start on a story. In one instance, he told a story from his favorite humorist in a cabinet meeting. Lincoln got no reaction from his cabinet, and he kind of chastised them, saying, "Gentlemen, why don't you laugh? With the fearful strain that is upon me night and day, if I did not laugh, I should die. And you need this medicine as much as I do." Other stories from the White House, one concerns a woman visitor who was kind of demanding. She said she wanted Lincoln to give her son a colonel's commission as a right that he had deserved. She said, "Sir, my grandfather fought at Lexington. My uncle was the only man that did not run away at Bladensburg. My father fought at New Orleans, and my husband was killed at Monterey." "Madam," Lincoln replied, "your family has done enough for this country. It's time to give somebody else a chance." Lincoln struggled with General McClellan, who would not fight. Shortly after the Battle of Antietam, Lincoln visited McClellan's encampment with O.M. Hatch, a visitor from Illinois. As they stood on the summit of a nearby hill overlooking the camp, Lincoln swept his hand from side to side and asked, "Hatch, what is all this?" Confused, Hatch answered, "Why, that's the Army of the Potomac. "No, Hatch, it isn't," said the president. "That is General McClellan's bodyguard." When McClellan was asked to give more detailed reports from the battlefield, just so Lincoln could keep track of him, he resorted to mockery one time. He sent a telegram to President Abraham Lincoln, Washington, D.C. "Have captured 6 cows. What should we do with them?" Lincoln responded to General George B. McClellan, "Milk them." McClellan was forever declining to take the initiative, claiming he didn't have enough soldiers. So finally, Lincoln sent him a telegram that said, "General McClellan, if you don't want to use the army, I should like to borrow it." Ironically, McClellan ended up being Lincoln's opponent in the election of 1864. McClellan was not very kind to Lincoln. He was quoted as saying, "The president is nothing more than a well-meaning baboon. He is the original gorilla. What a specimen to be the head of our affairs." Lincoln was very aware of jokes about his appearance. When accused of being two-faced, he retorted, "Do you really think that if I had another one, I wouldn't have shown it by now?" Lincoln exposed the evil of slavery as well as the hypocrisy of its defenders, when he declared, "Whenever I hear anyone arguing for slavery, I feel a strong impulse to see it tried on him personally." One time, a temperance advocate told Lincoln that General Ulysses S. Grant was careless in his dress and drank to excess, and asked Lincoln what he was going to do about it. Lincoln replied, "Find out what he drinks and send a barrel of it to my other generals." One of Lincoln's most persistent callers came to him one day when the news of the Chief of Customs had just died. Could he possibly take his place? "It's fine with me if the undertaker doesn't mind," Lincoln said. But history also regards Lincoln for his inspirational words, such as these given at his second inauguration, shortly before his assassination, where he said, "With malice towards none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right as God gives the right, let us strive on to the finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan, to do all which may achieve and cherish a just and lasting peace for ourselves and with all nations."